Journey to the West, an audio drama series. Chapter 34, Part 1. We speak of how the two imps held the fake gourd in their hands as they fought over who would examine it first, when all of a sudden they looked up and found Xingzhe gone from their sight. Lin Lichong said, "Oh, big brother, even gods lie too. He said that after swapping the treasures he would help us ascend to become immortals. Why did he leave without bidding farewell?" Jing Xigui replied, "We made a better bargain than he did. How dare he leave? Hand over the gourd. Let me bottle up the skies and try it out." So they really did toss the gourd upward, but it simply dropped back down immediately. Panicking, Lin Lichong asked, "Why isn't it swallowing anything? Could it be that Sun Xingzhe faked being an immortal and swapped the fake gourd for our real treasures?" Jing Xigui replied, "Stop with the nonsense. Sun Xingzhe is trapped under 3 mountains. How could he possibly get out? Hand it over and let me recite those spells of his so the swallowing can happen." So this imp also tossed the gourd into the air as he recited, "Should there be heaven no, I will head up to the Hall of Miraculous Mist and start violence." Before he was finished, the gourd once again dropped to the ground. The imp said, "It won't swallow. It won't swallow. It must be a fake." As they shouted, Great Sage Sun from mid-air heard and saw them clearly. He feared that before long the truth would be revealed. So he shook his body, and the hair that had turned into the gourd returned to him. Now the two imps were empty-handed. Jing Xigui said, "Brother, hand over the gourd." Lin Lichong replied, "You were holding it yourself." "Oh heavens, how did it disappear?" They went rummaging on the ground and through the grass, pulling on their sleeves and slapping their waists. Where was it? Shocked and stupefied, the two imps said, "What are we to do? What are we to do? The great kings entrusted the treasures to us and instructed to have Sun Xingzhe captured. Now not only is Xingzhe not captured, the treasures are also gone. How could we possibly find the courage to go home and report? This time we're certain to be beaten to death. What are we to do? What are we to do?" Lin Lichong suggested, "Let's run away then." Jing Xigui asked, "Where to?" Lin Lichong answered, "It doesn't matter where. If we go home and say the treasures are gone, our lives will certainly end." Jing Xigui said, "Let's not run away and return still. The second great king is usually quite fond of you. If I lay the blame on you and he is willing to forgive, then we might be able to survive. Otherwise, even if we are beaten to death, it will still take place at home. Let's not leave ourselves dangling somewhere in the middle. Let's go, let's go." They discussed the matters before turning around to make their way back to the mountain. From mid-air, Xingzhe saw them go back, so he shook his body and transformed into a fly. He then flew down and followed the imps. You may ask, if he transformed into a fly, then where did he put the treasures? If he left them on the road or hid them in the grass, someone might find and take them. Wouldn't that mean that his efforts were made in vain? But he did still have them on him. Have them on him, but the fly is only the size of a pea. How could he possibly carry them? It turned out that those treasures had similar qualities to his golden hooped rod. They are called compliant Buddhist treasures and can change with the body. They can grow bigger as well as smaller and therefore can be carried on one's body regardless of size. The fly thereby flew down with a buzz and followed those imps. In mere moments, they reached the cave. What they saw were the two leading monsters sitting there as they drank. The imps knelt down before them while Xingzhe perched on the door plank as he listened carefully. The imp said, "Great kings?" The two old monsters stopped drinking and replied, "You have returned." The imps answered, "We have." They asked, "Did you manage to capture Sun Xingzhe?" The imps kowtowed and dared not speak. The elder monster asked again, but they still would not reply, only kept kowtowing. He asked for the 3rd time, and the imps prostrated on the ground to say, "Pardon the little ones for the crime of infinite deaths." the crime of infinite deaths." They then detailed their encounter with the mysterious immortal before admitting, "We indeed had a heart full of vain hopes and a mind for profit. If his treasure could bottle up the skies and ours could bottle up humans, then we might as well make the swap with him. We were originally going to swap a gourd for a gourd, but then Lin Lichong offered the immaculate vase as well to sweeten the deal. Who would have thought that his immortal object could not come in contact with mortal hands? Just when we were trying it out, the object along with the person was gone. We beg that you spare the little ones the death penalty." The elder master heard that and went into thunderous rage, shouting, "So be it, so be it. This must be Sun Xingzhe who faked being an immortal and duped the items out of you. That monkey head is immensely powerful and has acquaintances everywhere. I wonder which lousy god set him free so he could go on to trick our treasures away." The younger master said, "Calm your rage, elder brother. I cannot stand how insolent that monkey head has become. If he has trickery enough to get away, then away he might as well get. But why dupe us of our treasures too? If I do not have the power to capture him, I shall never be a monster on this road to the west." The elder master asked, "How will you capture him?" The younger master answered, "We have 5 treasures. 2 are gone now, but 3 remain. We've got to capture him." The elder master asked, "Which 3? The younger master answered, "The 7-star sword and Bajiao Shan, the banana leaf fan, are with me. There is also one Huangjin Sheng, the flashy golden rope, that is put away at old mother's place in Yalongshan Yalongdong, the crushed dragon cave of Crushed Dragon Mountain. We should send 2 imps to invite old mother over to enjoy the flesh of the Tang monk, and she can bring the flashy golden rope along so we can capture Sun Xingzhe." The elder master asked, "Who should we send?" The younger master said, "Certainly not these useless creatures." They then yelled and told Jin Xigui and Lin Lichong to get up. The pair said, "What fortune, what fortune! There was no beating, nor was there any scolding. They forgave us just like that." The younger master said, "Tell the regular outing attendants Ba Shan Hu and Yi Hai Long to come over here." Ba Shan Hu literally means the mountain-attaching tiger, and Yi Hai Long, the sea-leaning dragon. The 2 imps knelt down as the younger master instructed. "You must be very careful." They both answered, "We will be careful." "You must be very meticulous." "We will be meticulous." He then asked, "Do you remember where Granny lives?" They both answered, "We do." "If so, then head out as soon as possible to Granny's place. Do pay lots of respect to her and tell her that we are inviting her to a meal of the Tang monk's flesh. She will need to bring the flashy golden rope along to capture Sun Xingzhe." The 2 imps took their orders and dashed off. Who would have thought that Sun Xingzhe was right beside them and heard everything clearly? He spread his wings to fly out and caught up to Ba Shan Hu, perching on his body. After they walked for about 2 to 3 li, he was about to kill the 2 imps when he thought to himself, "How hard could it be to beat them to death? But their granny has the flashy golden rope with her, and I have no idea where she lives. Let me ask them a few questions before beating them up." Splendid Xingzhe! With a buzz, he flew away from the imps. He let them go ahead for 100 steps or so before shaking his body to transform into an imp himself. Wearing a hat made with fox skin, he flipped his tiger skin skirt upside down and tied it around his waist. He then caught up to them and said, "The ones on the road wait for me." Yi Hai Long turned around to ask, "Where are you from?" Xingzhe replied, "Oh, good brother, do you not recognize your own family?" The imp said, "You are not from our family." Xingzhe asked, "What do you mean? Take a closer look." The imp said, "You've got the face of a stranger. A stranger. We've never met before." Xingzhe explained, "That is true. You have never met me before. I am from the external troops." The imp said, "You are an officer of the external troops. No wonder we have never met. Where are you heading?" Xingzhe answered, "The great kings instructed the 2 of you to invite Granny over for the flesh of the Tang monk. You will also ask her to bring over the flashy golden rope to capture Sun Xingzhe."
They fear that your steps may be slow and you're also quite playful, which could delay the important matter. So they sent me here to hurry you up. The imps saw that he spoke of the most intimate details, so they were no longer suspicious and treated Xingzhe as kin. Hurriedly they ran forward and soon crossed another 8 or 9 li. Xingzhe asked, "You're moving too fast. How far are we from home?" The imps answered, 15 or 16 li. Xingzhe asked, "How far do we still have to go?" Yi Hailong pointed with his finger and said, "It's right there in the dark forest." Xingzhe looked up to find a patch of dark woods not far away. He assumed the old monster could only be somewhere within those woods. Stopping his steps, he told the imps to go ahead first before taking out his iron rod. Walking over, he gave them a swipe on the back of their feet. Poor things could not stand the beating. The 2 imps were turned into meat patties. Xingzhe then dragged their feet and hid their bodies in thick grass by the road. Afterwards, he pulled out one hair and blew divine breath onto it, saying, "Change!" and it turned into Ba Shan Hu. He himself, on the other hand, transformed into Yi Hailong. Pretending to be the 2 imps, they headed straight to the crushed dragon cave for the old granny. This is what we call the immense power of the 72 transformations, the brilliant trick of swapping one thing for another. In several steps, he hopped into the forest. Just as he was searching around, he found 2 stone door panels that were half closed, so he dared not enter without permission. What he did instead was shout in a loud voice, "Open the door, open the door." It quickly caught the attention of a female imp guarding the door, so she pushed one side open a little bit, asking, "Where are you from?" Xingzhe answered, "I'm sent here by the Lotus Flower Cave of Flat Top Mountain. I'm here to invite Granny." The female imp said, "Come inside." As they approached the 3rd layer of gates, Xingzhe turned his head to look inside. What he saw sitting high up there in the middle of the room was an old woman. What was she like, you may ask? Fluffy white hair like snow, bright eyes shining like stars. Her cheeks were rosy though wrinkled. Her teeth were few but spirit strong, like a chrysanthemum withering in frost, resembling an old pine after rain. Wrapped around her head was a white scarf made of fine silk. Hanging from her ears were rings gold and bejeweled. Great Sage Sun saw that and dared not go in. Covering his face outside the 2nd layer of gates, he began sobbing. Why was he crying, you might ask? Could it be that he was afraid of her? Even if he were, that didn't warrant crying about it. He had already conned treasures from the monsters and killed their imps. What was he crying about? He was once thrown into an oil pot and fried for 7 or 8 days, and not a single tear was shed. It was only because he thought of the bitter journey that the Tang monk must take to bring the scriptures home. Tears came as his body ached. He cried non-stop while thinking to himself, "Now that Elder Sun has shown off my skills and transformed into an imp to invite the old monster, I cannot simply stand before her and talk as equals. I will have to bring myself to kowtow to her. Being born the sincere, honorable, loyal man that I am, I have only ever kowtowed to 3 people. In West Heaven, I kowtow to Buddha. In the South Seas, I kowtow to Guan Yin. In the 2 frontier mountains where Master saved me, I kowtow to him 4 times. I am willing to shatter my lungs and exhaust my heart for him. The price for one scroll of scripture must be unfathomable that I have to sacrifice my pride and dishonestly kowtow to this unworthy monster today. If I don't do it, the truth will come out. Oh, my woes! Come to think of it, it's all because Master is trapped that I am forced to be humiliated." At that point, he had no other choice but rage inside and prostrate to the one above, calling, "Kowtowing to you, Granny." The monster said, "Get up, my child." Xingzhe secretly thought to himself, "Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful indeed. What a solid address." The old monster asked, "Where are you from?" Xingzhe answered. Flat Top Mountain, Lotus Flower Cave. By the order of my 2 great kings, I am sent here to invite Granny to enjoy the flesh of the Tang monk. The flashy golden rope is to be brought along because they need to capture Sun Xingzhe. The old master was overjoyed and said, What filial boys! She then ordered to have the shoulder carriage taken out. Xingzhe thought to himself, No, my dear, even monster spirits travel on shoulder carriages. Out from the back room came 2 female imps who brought out a shoulder carriage made from fragrant rattan. It was placed outside the door before blue silk was hung around as curtains. The old master got up and left the cave before she sat inside the carriage. Several young female imps followed closely by holding makeup containers, mirror stands, towels, and scent boxes. The old monster said, What are you following for? I am going to my son's place. Do I not have enough people at my service there that your annoying presence is required? Go home, all of you, shut the doors and guard the home. The imps indeed all went back inside, leaving only 2 to shoulder the carriage. The old monster asked, The ones sent here, what are your names? Xingzhe hurriedly answered, He is called Ba Shan Hu, and my name is Yi Hailong. The old monster said, You 2 can go in the front and clear the path for me. Xingzhe silently thought to himself, What misfortune! The scripture is nowhere in sight, yet I am here to act as her slave. But he dared not resist, so he just walked forward while shouting in a loud voice. After walking for about 5 to 6 li, he sat down on a rocky cliff. Once the carriage arrived, Xingzhe asked, How about taking a break? Your shoulders must hurt. The imps had no idea of his trickery, so they put down the carriage. Xingzhe then walked behind the carriage and pulled a hair from his chest. Transforming it into a giant baked roll, he held it in his arms and began taking bites. The porters asked, Officer, what are you eating? Xingzhe answered, It's embarrassing to say, but I've gone such a long way to invite Granny without receiving any reward. I'm hungry now, and these are some dry goods I brought with myself. Let me take a few bites before we resume the journey. The porter said, Give us a bit to eat as well. Xingzhe smiled and said, Come here, we are all family, why even ask? The imps had no idea of the consequences, so they surrounded Xingzhe to get a share of the food. Whipping out his rod, Xingzhe gave them each a blow to the head. One was hit directly and was reduced to pulp. The other was grazed and left moaning but barely alive. The old monster heard someone moan, and as she poked her head outside for a look, Xingzhe jumped to the front of the carriage and hit her right on the head with his rod. The blow left a gaping hole from which her brains burst out and blood spilled. Pulling her out of the carriage, Xingzhe found that she was in fact a 9-tailed fox. He said, laughing, Cursed beast! How dare you call yourself Granny? If you deserve to be called Granny, then you should call Elder Sun the supreme ancestral grandfather. Splendid Monkey King. He then searched and found the flashy golden rope and wrapped it inside his sleeves, as he said in delight. Those insolent monsters may be capable, but 3 of their treasures already belong to Sun. Afterwards, he pulled out 2 hairs and transformed them into Ba Shan Hu and Yi Hailong, respectively. Another 2 hairs were turned into the porters. He, on the other hand, transformed into the spitting image of the Granny as he sat inside the carriage. The imps thereby shouldered the carriage and headed straight back the way he came. Soon, they made it to the entrance of the Lotus Flower Cave. The imps that were made from hair all shouted at the front, Open the door, open the door! Inside were the imps guarding the gates. They opened the door and asked, Is that Ba Shan Hu and Yi Hailong coming? The hares answered, We are. Where's Granny that you were supposed to invite? The hares pointed with their fingers and said, Isn't she inside the carriage? The gods said, Hold on, all of you. Wait till I report inside. They then reported, Great Kings, Granny has arrived. The 2 monster kings heard that and immediately set up incense tables as part of the welcoming ceremony. Xingzhe heard that and said in delight, What brilliant luck! It's my turn to be somebody. I turned into an imp first to invite the old monster and gave her a kowtow. This time around, I am the old monster and their mother. They must perform the courtesy of 4 bows to me. It's nothing impressive, but at the very least I am earning 2 kowtows from them. Splendid great sage. He got off the carriage and shook his clothes, retrieving the 4 hairs back to his body. The imps guarding the gates then transported the empty carriage inside. He, on the other hand, followed behind slowly. Coyly wiggling, he imitated the movement of the old monster as he made his way inside. What he saw were groups of imps, big and small, all coming to prostrate to her as welcome. Musical instruments made loud sounds as delicate stoves produced fragrant fumes. He arrived at the center of the living room before taking a seat, facing south. The 2 monster kings knelt down on both knees and prostrated to the one above, saying, "Mother, your child pays his respect." Xingzhou replied, "Get up, my dear sons." Now we turn to Zhu Bajie, who chuckled out loud as he hung from a beam.
Sha Monk said, "Second elder brother, you are doing pretty well, even laughing while you're hung." Bajie replied, "Brother, there is a reason for my laughter." Sha Monk asked, "What reason?" Bajie answered, "We feared that once Granny arrived, we would be steamed as food. But as it turns out, she's not Granny but an old acquaintance." Sha Monk asked, "Which old acquaintance?" Bajie replied, "Bima Wen is here." Sha Monk asked, "How can you tell it's him?" Bajie explained, "When he bent his waist to say, 'Get up, my dear sons,' his monkey tail flipped up from his behind. I'm hung higher up than you are, so I can see it clearly." Sha Monk said, "Let's not talk about this for now. Listen to what he has to say." Bajie replied, That's right. Great Sage Sun sat at the center when he asked, "My dear boys, what are you inviting me over for today?" The Monster Kings answered, "Oh, Mother, your sons have barely shown you any courtesy these days and not done you good. This morning we foolish brothers captured a Tang monk from the land of the East. We dare not eat him without your permission, so we invited Mother over to enjoy the kill. We will have him steamed so Mother can eat him and extend her life." Xingzhou replied, "My dear boys, the Tang monk's flesh is not something I cared about eating. But I have heard that the ears of one Zhu Bajie is quite delicious. You can cut them off and cook them into a dish that goes with wine." Bajie heard that and panicked, shouting, "You sickened thing! You are actually here to cut off my ears. It won't be nice if I have to shout out loud." Alas! Because of one truthful sentence from the fool, the Monkey King's transformation was uncovered. Several patrolling imps, along with the ones guarding the gates, burst inside to report, "Great King, there is a disaster. Sun Xingzhe beat Granny to death and disguised himself as her." The Monster Kings heard that and spared no time to explain as they wielded the 7-star sword and hacked right at Xingzhe's face. Splendid Great Sage. Sashaying his body, he filled the cave with red light as he made a quick exit. Powers like that do come in handy. When gathered, he had shape and form. When dispersed, he was merely air.